I want to welcome everybody. My name is Stacy Harper. I'm the principal here at Country Heights. I'm very glad to have you. And I'm very excited that my students are going to take over and they're going to lead us in a wonderful celebration of you. So thank you guys for coming. Boys and girls, I appreciate all of your leadership in the bleachers and all the great things that you do. And I want everybody to enjoy and have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you, guests, for being here.
Welcome veterans and patrons, as well as Sheriff Keith Kane, Jesse Miller, Davis County High School Junior ROTC, and other honored guests to today's ceremony. And thank you for attending. I am Emma Lamb. I am honored to be speaking with you today on such an important occasion. We are here today to honor our service members and to remember their sacrifices they have made and the courage it takes to defend our country. We also are honoring our patrons of our community. Good afternoon. I'm Madison DeWitt. Please stand and remain standing until after the national anthem is sung by the Country Heights Choir. At this time, the Davis County High School Junior ROTC Color Guard will be now present the flag, and Miles Hill will lead us in the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon. I'm Ava Johnson. Veterans Day is a holiday that we celebrate to show thanks to our veterans. Veterans are men and women who served in the armed forces. The armed forces consist of the Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Air Force, and Marines. Veterans Day was originally, this holiday was originally called Armistice Day and was originally designated as a day to celebrate the end of World War I.
Hello, I am Aaron Boone. After several wars, the veterans lobbied that the holiday be changed to honor all veterans from every war and conflict the United States has encountered. Veterans Day is celebrated on November 11th because the fighting of World War I ended on the 11th day of the 11th month of the 11th hour. We have honored our troops in their service and sacrifice ever since. We are also honoring our patriots today because they service us here in our community each and every day. I'm Dixon Bennefield, and I'm honored to be speaking today to you. We're here to honor our heroes, to remember their achievements, their courage, and their dedication, and to say thank you for their sacrifices. Thinking of the heroes who join us today in this group, and those who are only here in spirit, a person can't help but to feel awe. The choir will be singing the Armed Forces Medley. Please stand when you see your military seal on the screen.
Thank you, choir. That was a great performance. Good afternoon. I am Sean Page. I live with a brave and courageous patron who serves our community daily by keeping us safe. He patrols our streets, checks our neighborhoods, and protects our community daily. Every morning I look up to my hero, who sets a great example for my brother and I, and as well as many of my friends. My hero and patron is my dad. He is also known as one of our great Owensboro Police Department officers here in our community. Thank you, Dad, for being such a great role model, coach, and champion for our family.
Why do I want to honor our military men and women today? It is because of both my papas. Each of them have impacted my life before I even arrived here on this earth by serving our country. My papa fought in the Vietnam War, and today we remember them. In honor of them, I want to be an Army soldier. I want to rise to the call of protection for our community, state, and country. Thank you for all that you do or have done for my generation. I hope one day I can do the same. One of my favorite people in the whole wide world, as well as a hero to others, it's my dad. At home, he is funny and can turn anybody's frown upside down into a smile. He is also very good at protecting others in our community. One of my favorite stories of my dad, who was a police officer, is the day he saved a baby girl who was struggling with breathing. After that day, he became very protective of any kid. Thank you, Dad, for all you do for both our family and the community. I would also like to thank my brother who served in Iraq and now is a police officer in Florida. Also, my cousins who are here today, Stephanie and Bobby Gray, for serving our country.
Good afternoon. I am Jackson Shaw. My ultimate goal is to serve in the military. I love the thought of protecting our country and serving like both my dad and my grandfather. Many of you have made the same sacrifice for me, and one day it will be my turn to that for you and your families. You're my hero, and each of you have played a huge part in our freedom to live in this country. I want to be a part of that too, and I am ready to bear the reins.
Good afternoon. I am Connor Worth. We stand in the midst of patriots and the family and friends of those who have nobly served. I would like to ask the patriots and veterans who are here today to stand when you hear your name. Please hold your applause until we call our name.
Hello, I'm Elijah Payne. And I am Ben McAdams, and we are honored to be recognizing each of you. Elmer also served in the Navy, grandfather of Allison and Lily Williams. Kirk Bailey served in the Army, great-grandfather of Evan Onstadt. Mike Bartlett served in the Army, grandparent of Cole and Molly Bartlett. Jerry Bassler served in the Army, grandfather of Ashley Lee. Terry Belcher served in the Army, grandfather of Ray Lee Graham. Dean Bivens served in the Army Reserves, grandfather of Sadie and Savannah Malay. Lou Borman served in the Army, great-grandfather of Emerson Bikey. Chipper Blue served in the Army National Guard, grandfather of Nate Blue and father-in-law to Mrs. Blue. Dilbert Blinko served in the Marines, grandfather of Caden Wood. James Booker served in the Army, grandfather of Anna and Ben Booker. Brandon Boone serves and works as a police officer, brother of Aaron Boone. Robert Boone served in the Army, cousin of Aaron Boone. Steve Boone serves and works as a police officer, father of Aaron Boone. Tim Brown served in the Army, grandfather of Noah Schmidt. George Daniel Byrd Served in the Marines. Grandfather of Mackenzie and Reeves Elliott.
Sheriff Nolan Burns.
Served in the Air Force. Grandfather of Ava Burris.
Sheriff Keith Kane.
Served in the Marine. Currently the Sheriff of Davis County.
Ron Cameron.
Served in the Army. Grandfather to Kenzie Cameron.
Alan Clark.
Served in the Air Force. Dad of Caitlin Clark.
Ernest Coons.
Served in the Air Force. Father of Elena Coons and Sterling God.
Tim Corder.
Served in the Marine Corps. Father of Maddie Corder.
A.J. Crow.
Served in the Army. Great uncle to Jonah and Lily Murphy.
Gib Crowley.
Served in the Army. Great grandfather of Allie Shelton.
Lawrence Davis.
Served in the Army. Great grandfather of Heather Bridgman.
Jesse Dyke.
Served in the Army. Father of Savannah Wood.
Harold Ebelhair.
Served in the Air Force. Grandfather of Ella and Hallie Ebelhair.
Clarence Elder.
Served in the Army. Father of Chrissy Elder.
Ken Elshide.
Served in the Army. Father of Paige Elshide.
Sam Elliott.
Served in the Army. Father of Ava Crump. Grandfather of Ava Crump.
Frank Emos.
Served in the Army. Grandfather of Carly Wade.
Dixie Ferris.
Served in the Army. Great-grandfather of Claire Wells.
David Fulkerson.
Served in the Marines. Dad of Leland and Keaton Fulkerson.
Buddy Fuquay.
Served in the Army. Volunteers at the Thruston Fire Department. Grandfather of Ty Hetty and father of Mrs. Hetty.
Jerry Gardner.
Served in the FBI. Uncle of Emma Schmidt.
Burley Gentry.
Served in the Army. Great-grandfather of Cameron Gentry.
Leroy Gilbert.
Served in the Navy. Great-grandfather of Rayleigh Graham.
David Goins.
Serves and works in our community as an Owensboro firefighter. Father of Nate Goins.
David Goins.
Served on the Owensboro Fire Department. Grandfather of Nate Goins.
Clem Gordon.
Served in the Army. Grandfather of Jack and Sam Gordon.
Shale Gordon.
Served in the Army as a Ranger. Father of Jack and Sam Gordon.
Stephanie Gray.
Served in the National Guard. Cousin of Aaron Boone.
James Gross.
Served in the Marine Corps. Grandfather of Chelsea and Layla Craig.
Terry Hatfield.
Served in the Army. Grandfather of Elliot and Ashland Hatfield.
Timothy Hatfield.
Currently serving as an Owensboro police officer. Father of Elliot and Ashland Hatfield.
Michael Hardesty.
Served in the Air Force. Great-grandfather of Maverick Hardesty and Katie Cobb.
Robert Harris.
Served in the Air Force. Great-grandfather of Mason Russellberg.
George Hodge.
Served in the Navy. Grandfather of Jack and Sam Gordon.
Richard Heddes.
Served in the Army. Great-grandfather of Carter Blandford. Grandfather to Ty Hetty. Father-in-law to Mrs. Hetty.
Philip Hickerson.
Served in the National Guard. Stepdad of Kendricks Bowen.
Marshall Hill.
Served in the Army. Grandfather of Miles Hill.
Jonathan Hill.
Served in the Army, uncle of Corbin Bland.
Nancy Hammond.
Served in the Army and National Guard. Great-grandmother of Claire Wells.
Will Henneman.
Served in the Marines and Army. Great-grandfather to Claire Wells.
Wesley Horton.
Served in the Marines. Father of Bryson Horton.
Jared Hodgkins.
Served in the Marines. Father of Vincent Hodgkins and husband to Mrs. Hodgkins.
Alex Howard.
Served in the Army. Grandfather of Nolan Howard.
Fred Jones.
Served in the Army. Uncle of Elliot and Ashlyn Hatfield.
Rick Keller.
Served in the Army, National Guard. Grandfather of Sadie and Savannah Millay.
Ottaway Kirby.
Served in the Army and Marines. Uncle to Christopher and Peyton Burns.
Jerry Winfrey.
Served in the Army. Great-grandfather of Gannon and Jack Shaw.
John Lanham.
Served in the Army. Great-grandfather of Emma and Addie Lanham.
William Lanham.
Served in the Army. Grandfather of Emma and Addie Lanham.
Larry McCombs.
Served in the Navy. Grandfather of Evie Wilson.
Terry McClure.
Served in the Army. Grandfather to Cole Beasley and Bristol Barnett.
Judge Al Mattingly.
Currently a judge in Davis County.
Charles Mattingly.
Served in the Army. Grandfather of Addison and Chloe Mattingly.
Jed Mills.
Served in the Navy. Great uncle to Claire Wells.
Wayne Millay.
Served in the Army. Father of Gabrielle and Aubrey Millay.
Stephen Miller.
Serves on the Owensboro Fire Department. Dad of Annie Laurie and Lincoln Miller. Uncle of Miles Maddie and Morgan Prophet. Wife of Mrs. Miller.
George Morin.
Serves in the Army. Served in the Army. Father of Mrs. Reed.
Stan Nelson.
Served in the Navy. Grandfather of J.J. Stoffel.
Sean Newton.
Served in the Navy. Father of Sophia and Eva Newton.
Gerald Nickens.
Grandfather of Jackson Shaw.
Harry Osborne.
Served in the Army. Grandfather to Allison Rhodes.
Kenny Onstott.
Served in the National Guard. Grandfather of Evan Onstott.
Michael Page.
Serves and works for Owensboro Police Department. Father of Sean and Jacob Page.
Brian Paris.
Served in the Army. Grandpa of Cale and Keesley Atkinson.
Copeland L. Payne.
Served in the Army. Great-grandfather of Jacob Mattingly.
Robert Payne.
Served in the Navy. Grandfather to Magdalene Payne.
Donald Powers.
Served in the Air Force. Grandfather to Clark and Isabella Powers.
Danny Powell.
Served in the Marines. Grandfather of Cooper Johnston.
Robert Proviance.
Served in the National Guard. Volunteers at the Yelvington Fire Department. Grandfather of Hunter Phillips.
Richard Ray.
Served in the Army. Grandfather of Elima Ray.
Nick Rhodes.
Served in the Army. Grandfather of Allison Rhodes.
David Ream.
Served in the Army. Volunteers at Thruston Fire Department. Grandfather of Ava Burris.
Larry Rowe.
Served in the Army. Great-grandfather of Riley and Cole Beasley.
Eddie Sanders.
Served in the Army. Father of Tristan Sanders.
Terry Sapp.
Served in the Army. Grandfather of Kaylee Sapp. Chris Shaw, father of Jackson Shaw. Glenn Smith, served in the Army, in Army National Guard, great uncle to Claire Wells. Patrick Smith, served in the Navy, cousin of Claire Wells. Adam Stevens, served in the National Guard, uncle to Camray and Kingsley Burnett. Leonard Stogner, served in the Navy, grandfather of Elijah Stogner. David Sublett, served in the Army and currently serving in our community as an Owensboro City fireman. Father of Alex Sublett. George Mike Sullivan, served in the Marines, grandfather of Catherine and Jackson Tillman. Darren Sullivan, served in the Navy, father of Catherine and Jackson. Joe Terry, served in the Army, grandfather of Carson Owen. Tim Terry, serves and works as an Owensboro a Davis County fireman, uncle of Carson Owen. Pamela Wells, served in the Navy, grandmother of Claire Wells. Richard Wells, served in the Army, step-grandfather of Will Kemper. Robert T. Wells, served in the Army and Army National Guard, grandfather of Claire Wells. Robert J. Wills, served in the Army, great-grandfather of Claire Wells. Bruce Williams, served in the Army, dad of Allison and Lily Williams. Roger Williams, served in the Army and Army National Guard, grandfather of Cooper Johnston. Corey Wilson, served in the Air Force, father of Trevor Wilson. Jim Weeder, served in the Army, grandfather of Elliot and Ashland Hatfield. Ronald Woodward, served in the Marine Corps, grandfather of Will and Kate Hammond. Chris Worth, served in the Air Force, father of Tanner and Connor Worth. Joseph Worth, served in the Navy, grandfather of Tanner and Connor Worth. Riley Wyatt, served in the Army, family member of Riley Wyatt. Billy Joe Yiser, served in the Air Force and National Guard, great uncle to Thomas Watts. Bruce Yiser, served in the Air Force, National Guard, grandfather to Thomas Watts. Officer Courtney Yerrington, currently serves and works as an Owensboro Fire Police officer, mom of Elijah Burton. Donald Sears, served in the Army, grandfather of Cindy Falkenberg. At this time, all patriots and veterans, please stand so we can thank you all. Thank you for answering the call to duty. We have made our armed forces the most respected in the world, and our community defense is thanks to all of our patriots. Please be seated.
Good afternoon. I am Lainey Howard. The service members and patriots honored today came from all walks of life, but share several fundamental qualities. They possess courage, pride, determination, selflessness, dedication to duty, and integrity. They were ordinary people who responded in extraordinary ways. They rose to the nation's call because they wanted to protect a nation which has given them, us, so much. At this time, please stand as Jesse Miller plays tap. Thank you, Jesse.
Good afternoon. I am
Good afternoon. Or you can do better than that. Good afternoon. I like it. Well, last night I spoke at an event that was probably longer than they wanted me to speak. And I'm trying to get over a cold that many of you have, so bear with me. I will try to add my words to these proceedings. However, I will tell you that I don't think there's a lot that I could say they can outdo what you've already heard. Because these young people speak from the heart, and these young people are indeed, although we say it so much that we really don't take into consider the gravity of it, these are the future of our country. And many of them, as you have already heard, aspire to be our future soldiers. I'm humbled, as I have in years past, to have the honor of addressing this audience here today. Though I can tell you, as one who survived when others that were with me did not, I feel somewhat unworthy to do so. It is fitting, however, that we pause today to recognize the sacrifice of our fallen. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 10, verse 7, we're admonished that the remembrance of the righteous is a blessing. You see, the greatest of Americans' treasures is our freedoms, ladies and gentlemen. Those freedoms that we enjoy and all too often, unfortunately, we take for granted. They come to us at a tremendous price. That freedom has been paid for, and it continues to be paid for today on the battlefield with the blood of our veterans. That sacrifice must never be forgotten, and it most certainly should never ever be forsaken. We owe a debt of gratitude to these veterans, ladies and gentlemen, that we can never ever adequately repay, no matter how hard we try. But I can tell you this, that does not negate the fact that we shouldn't endeavor to do so each and every day. Not just on Veterans Day, not just on Memorial Day, but each and every day. We should embrace them for the heroes that they are. Before I get started in my remarks, I would be remiss if I didn't pay special attention to my brothers and sisters from the Marine Corps. You see, we celebrate another holiday before Veterans Day, tomorrow on November the 10th. And the Marines in the audience can tell us what that is. What is it?
Birthday.
It's the Marine Corps birthday. There you go. Ton Tavern, 1775, 242 years ago, the Marine Corps was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. But collectively, ladies and gentlemen, the generations of soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who have served and sacrificed for us are the heart and the soul. Or as former Vice President Joe Biden said at a past Memorial Day cemetery in Arlington that I attended, he said that they're the spine of this great country. And I respect, although I'm very proud of my Marine Corps tradition, I must tell you that I respect each and every member of the United States military for their service. You see, every sailor, every soldier, Coast Guardsman, airman, or Marine, they are proud to be a very small part of something that is much, much larger, a much larger whole. I believe one of the most disturbing facts is the idea that somehow certain service is better than others, and their efforts were more noteworthy. Or the implication that someone stateside, maybe in the military, did less valuable service than someone that served overseas. I will tell you that I think that that mindset is ridiculous. It's petty, and I reject it completely. You see, the military is filled with servants whose dedication to this country is awe-inspiring. I have tremendous respect for everyone who wore or wears that uniform. Everyone is critical to mission success. Infantry, supply, logistics, administration, intelligence, aviation, special ops. If you wore the uniform of the United States of America, we are here today to honor your service. Still, there are many people who have given so much more than myself. Many service members gave limbs, and far too many gave their lives. While we are here today to honor all our veterans, and we are, tragically many gave their lives fulfilling their oath to this great nation, and to each and every one of us. And in doing so, I think that they imprinted on each and every one of us a responsibility to recognize, to respect, and to honor, and to care for those who risk their lives so that we, boys and girls, can live ours. Two, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize our Gold and Blue Star families who know all too well the true meaning of a loved one's patriotism that comes at such a very, very high price. You see, they embody the words of the poet John Milton when he said this: "These also serve who only stand and wait." Many of you here today have stood and waited, relieved at the return of your loved one. Perhaps some of you are now waiting, with family members still overseas, many of them in harm's way. And Gold Star families, like Tommy and Kathy Mullins, have stood and waited for a loved one that did not and will not ever return. My advice to them is to take comfort in God's promise, not ours, in God's promise that one day, one glorious day, they will be reunited with their loved ones in God's heaven. That promise, if you're not familiar with it, ladies and gentlemen, is outlined in the book of John, chapter 14, verses 1 through 3. "Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house there are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you so. I go now to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you into myself, that where I am, you may be also." We can take great peace and comfort in those words, ladies and gentlemen. I was in Israel a few years ago, and I spent a great deal of my time wandering in the cemeteries there. There are many cemeteries there of veterans, because you see, in Israel, all men and women are called to serve. And there are a great many veterans who have perished in the many wars that Israel has endured by her many enemies. While walking through the headstones one day, I came across one, and I read the inscription. I wrote it down because it meant so much to me. It said, "Death leaves a heartache no one can heal, but love leaves a memory no one can steal." No one, ladies and gentlemen, can take the memory of a lost one from you. I can tell you from my own personal experiences that the pain and the heartache that you may now feel will eventually, God willing, be replaced with a joyful memory of a son or a daughter, a husband or a wife, a father or a mother that you love so dearly and lost. My prayer for each of you is that that day will come much sooner than later, but I promise you, God promised you that that day will come. Ladies and gentlemen, all the veterans here today are heroes. It's another term that we kind of kick around and we use kind of loosely, and we don't really think about just exactly what that term means. And I can tell you, I know many of the heroes, the veterans in this audience today. And I can tell you that the majority of them, probably every one of them, would not be comfortable being called a hero. Because you see, that humility is part of what makes them heroic. What makes a hero? It's a difficult question, often pondered, but I don't believe it's really sufficiently ever answered. I suspect that the prime motivating force behind acts of heroism is not so much a sense of duty or even courage, but simply an overwhelming sense of responsibility. You see, all the veterans in this audience today, ladies and gentlemen, they recognized that responsibility and they seized it. Whether they served in the Pacific or the European theaters of World War II, dude, the frozen reservoir of Korea, the steamy rice paddies and jungles of Vietnam, the treacherous mountains of Afghanistan, or the burning sands of Iraq. Each of you stood the line when America needed you most. And because you did, we live in this great country. Boys and girls, understand it didn't just happen. There had to be sacrifice. And these veterans sacrificed for you. I can tell you, it's a comfort to know that there are heroes amongst us. Regular people. I think the young lady said it best when she said, ordinary people called upon to do extraordinary things. Regular people represented by the people in this auditorium today. You see, they were willing to do what they could to make the world a better place. They gave instead of taking. They acted in lieu of taking. They stepped forward and placed themselves in the very worst of harm's way. They gave the very best of themselves when they were at the prime of their youth. Their successes were never measured in wealth, and certainly not comfort, but by the lives they touched, and by the people they saved. You see, ladies and gentlemen, that's what heroes did. And so the question beckons, why did they do it? Why in the world would somebody, particularly in a volunteer environment that we have in our military now, why would they voluntarily leave the comfort of home, of friends, of family, of the liberties that they enjoy in this great country? Why would they do that in the prime of their youth, travel halfway around the world, and literally lay down their lives for people they had never met? What motivates a person to do something like that? I can tell you why they didn't do it. They didn't do it for fame or glory. They certainly didn't do it out of pursuit of any personal ambition. But I believe they did it because they were lured by a strong sense of necessity. And obedience to discipline is only a veteran can really understand that term. William Manchester, who was wounded in combat in World War II and chose to return to the fight rather than to be returned home when he was offered to do so, he suggested even another motive of why veterans fight. In his book, Mr. Manchester says this. The book is Goodbye Darkness. If you haven't read it, I would encourage you to do so. He says, and I quote, "It was an act of love. Those men on the line were my family. They were my home. They were closer to me than I can say, closer than any friends had ever been or ever would be. They had never let me down, and I couldn't do it to them. I had to be with them rather than to let them die." And he lived with the knowledge that I might have saved him. He said, "Men I now know do not fight for flag or country or any other abstraction. They fight for one another." Another veteran, Stephen Banko, a decorated Vietnam combat veteran, said it very similarly. And he said this: "Most people think of the battlefield as the province of hate, fear, and anger. But when you fought and you bled and you've risked and you survived, you recognize it as something entirely different. Hatred would hardly be enough to make a soldier leave a safe position to rescue a buddy. Fear would never make one share the last sip of water with a dying comrade. And anger would never motivate a nurse to stand tall in a bloody makeshift operating room and put a blasted soldier or Marine back together. No, only love can motivate that kind of heroism. Only love can trigger that kind of courage. Only love." So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I want you to understand that the reason that we are really here today is because of love. To show our love for the men and women who showed their love for this great country by serving. Love of all our veterans who willingly went where no one else would go. I know the heart of a veteran, ladies and gentlemen. And I can tell you, to a man and a woman in this room today, every single one of them would do it again if their country called for them to do it. That is the heart of a veteran. You see, all the veterans in this room and across this great nation, we all share a very special kinship, whether we know each other or not. It was forged in the heat of battle. Shakespeare said it best when he said this: "We few, we proud and happy few, we band of brothers. For he who sheds blood with me this day shall be my brother." All of us veterans, regardless of the color of our uniform or where we served, we together, Lou, we belong to the most elite fraternity in the entire world. We belong to it because we darn sure own the right to be there. Do you recall the scene in the movie Saving Private Ryan? Have you seen that movie? If you haven't, I would encourage you to do so. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen that can actually captivate the real feeling of war. If you're not familiar with the movie, Tom Hanks' character, Captain John Miller, is trying to locate Private Ryan. Private Ryan, you see, has 3 brothers that have been recently killed, and he's given orders to go and find Ryan and take him off the battlefield so he too won't be killed. He's the last surviving male member of the family. So Captain Miller, throughout the movie, has endured all the horrors of war. He's lost many men in this endeavor, and he finally finds Private Ryan. Private Ryan is at a bridge that his small squad has been ordered to keep, to secure. All those, there's an advancing tank battalion headed their way. It is sure suicide. There's no way this squad is going to survive this. And they all know it. And now here arrives Captain Miller, and he gives Private Ryan an out. You're going home. You're going back with us. You don't have to stay here and die. Do you recall what Private Ryan told him? He said, "I'm not going." He said, "I'm staying here." Here's the message, guys. When he says that, Captain Miller in the movie turns to Private Ryan and he says, "What will I tell your mother if you stay here and die?" And Private Ryan says, "You tell her that I stayed with the only brothers that I have left." Folks, what sticks with me today, as I think back to my own experiences in those triple canopy jungles, the rice paddies of Vietnam, is not so much the pain, the terror, and the sorrow of war, but I can tell you, I can remember that well enough. I will tell you that I know the metallic taste of fear that rises up in your mouth when confronting an enemy that is hell-bent on taking your life. I get that. I know what that feels like. But it's not what I choose to dwell on. It's not what I choose to remember about my experiences in Vietnam. No, what I choose to remember is the honor that I had of serving with men and women just like sitting in this audience today. You see, ladies and gentlemen, that is the brotherhood. That is the bond of the American veterans. In life, like soldiers, battles past and present, these veterans ask for very little. They ask to be well led, to be treated with dignity and with respect, and in death for the very purposes that we gather here today, to be honored, to be remembered. You see, they understood what every soldier knows. There can be no compromise of duty. That evil will always be met with a bold courage and an unrelenting will to do what has to be done regardless of the cost. Veterans, we do recognize that commitment and that sacrifice. For in doing so, you see, boys and girls, by recognizing what they've done, through their inspiration and by their example, and all of you are given the opportunity to raise yourselves. I can tell you that, unfortunately, I'm getting on in age. Well, once I could commit to memory, I now have to put on a printed page. But I want you to understand this, folks. This is not a canned speech. No, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, my feelings for you are as they always have been and always will be. They are fierce, and they are proud, and they are deep, and they are profound. As a young Marine in Vietnam in 1969, I served with the 1st Reconnaissance Battalion. We were occasionally attached to and ran operations with Echo Company's 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines. We were called the professionals. Google it, you'll see it. We were called the professionals due to the effective manner in which we conducted our business there. I'll let it go at that. 35 years later, in 2001, United States Marine Corps Major Doug Zimbiak was then the captain, company commander of the very same unit, Echo 2-1, during Operation Vigilant Resolve. And I can tell you, ladies and gentlemen, Echo 2-1, 35 years later, was still taking care of business. And because of his heroism in the early ground assault, Major Zimbiak became known as the Lion of Fallujah. Doug was shot and killed while leading the Iraqi troops that he had helped train. It was his 4th combat tour. He was awarded the Silver Star, the Bronze Stars, 2 Purple Hearts. You see, ladies and gentlemen, Doug Zimbiak was a warrior, and he was a warrior of whom this nation can be immensely proud. At his funeral service in Arlington National Cemetery, his best friend read from Doug's personal journal, in which Major Zimbiak wrote these words encapsulating his philosophy. And I quote, he said, "Be a man of principle." Listen up, boys and girls. "Fight for what you believe in. Keep your word. Be brave. Believe in something much bigger than just yourself. Serve your country. Teach. Mentor. Give something back to your community. Lead from the front and conquer your fears." End quote. You see, ladies and gentlemen, I share that with you because I believe those words convey the character and the purpose of those that we remember and honor here today. All of these men and women sitting here, your fathers, your mothers, grandfathers, grandmothers, you see, they lived with integrity. They served nobly. They gave everything. They fought for what they believed in. And maybe most importantly, they believed in something much bigger than themselves. You see, they believed in all of you. They believed in all of us. And they believed in America. So on this day, in this hour and at this very moment, let us strive to be individuals in a nation that is worthy of that belief. One more scene from the movie Saving Private Ryan. If you'll recall, in the final scenes, Private Ryan is now grown and he's elderly, and he's been over the grave of Tom Miller, the man that came to protect him and save him in Arlington Cemetery. And you can hear a voiceover of General George Marshall reading the letter to Private Ryan's mother. It culminates by quoting President Abraham Lincoln in a letter that he had written to a Gold Star mother of the Civil War. I'll leave you today with President Lincoln's prayer, and I quote, "I pray that our Heavenly Father may assuage the anguish of your bereavement and leave you only the cherished memory of the loved and the lost, and the solemn pride that must be yours to have laid so costly a sacrifice upon the altar of freedom." End quote. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for allowing me to be part of your ceremony today. And know, as we leave here today, boys and girls, moms and dads, that we are blessed to live in a nation where good men and women are willing to give up their lives so that we can go live in ours. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you, Mr. Kane, for sharing your wonderful message with us, and we truly appreciate you visiting with us today. Hello, I'm Jenna Ward. The choir will be singing We Honor You, and please enjoy the slideshow and their song.
On November 11th, people throughout the country will gather together to remember, to honor, and pay gratitude to those who have served in serving our country. Hello, I'm Abby Thompson. This assembly is not a lot, but is one small way we can honor those who have made the ultimate sacrifice so that we can live in freedom. Thank you for attending today. God bless you, your families, and of course our troops. Please stand and remain standing until we retire the colors.